Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Hi, Chad. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Great.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, sir. We are live. So we'll just quickly run through introduction and then we can begin with the session.
Yeah.
So good evening, everybody. I extend a very warm welcome to the August gathering. So quickly running through what Illuminer Council is. Illuminer Council is an initiative by an alumni and the students of University of Delhi. The council is laid with an aim to host webinars with expert guest speakers and hold group discussions among the members of the council. Our goal is to polish the skills of the budding generation, add luster to their knowledge that it lacks, put forth their viewpoints, and understand the point of view of others. And now for today's big event, which we all have been waiting for. We have with us our expert guest speaker, Major General Vikram Devdogra. He's an Army general, a TEDx speaker, a motivational speaker, first serving Army officer, and the only general in the world to do Ironman twice. Sir has reached the pinnacles of success through his sheer hard work and dedication. So we are honored to have you with us. Before I hand over the platform to our expert guest speaker, I request all the attendees to kindly drop in whatever queries or questions they have in the chat box, and our team will convey them to Sir later. Thank you. Sir, now I hand over the platform to you to kindly address the gathering with your wise words.
Thank you so much, Chad, for the introduction. It's indeed my pleasure to be here and try and convey to your audience about how life is in the day of a cadet and also what it goes on to become when you finally get commissioned and become an officer in the Indian Army. But just to put everybody on the same grid, uh, I have served in uniform for 41 years. I joined the National Defense Academy straight out of school. I studied in a school in Missouri, St. George's College. And from there, 1977, December, I moved from there and joined the NDA. Did 4 years in the NDA, 3 years in the NDA, onto the IMA, and got commissioned in 1981. Life in NDA, in IMA, in the Training Academy, what they call the OTA, is all very similar. So I will take you all through a journey as a cadet, or I'll take you through my journey when I joined the military academy. I will talk of the NDA, but let me tell you, I will keep relating it to what IMA would be and how it would be slightly different from NDA. The only difference being that NDA you join after school, and IMA and OTA you join after college. And if any of you would be wanting to join the Indian military, the Indian Army or the armed forces, you would go to institutions like the IMA or the OTA. Because like I said, the NDA is after school. And having spent 3 years in the NDA, you graduate and then you go to the IMA. So you all will go directly into the IMA. I'm sure you all know how to join the OTA/the IMA. There is an examination to be passed, a UPSC examination. Having passed that, you will be put through the Services Selection Board, which is an interview process where essentially what they're looking for is whether you have the qualities that are required to become an officer in the Indian Army. And what are these qualities that they look for? In a nutshell, I can say it's officer-like qualities. And officer-like qualities is nothing but your ability to lead the men whom you will have to command, to lead them into battle, to lead them in a normal day, and how you can become a leader of the men and how they will follow you. So this is what officer-like qualities are. But if you were to specifically look at what all constitutes officer-like qualities, there is a long list. And if you Google it, some places they'll tell you 15 qualities. Some other places they will mention 10 qualities. But the essential qualities are, first is competence. You have to be competent. You must know your job. And only if you're competent will the people who are there below you, will they have faith in you. Second is your character. should be flawless, impeccable. You should be somebody who's trustworthy so that they can repose their faith in you. They can trust you because your decision may also lead them to even give up their lives. So you have to be trustworthy. Thereafter, you have to have good communication skills because you may be a great leader, but if you cannot communicate to the people whom you are going to lead what your intention is, what your vision is, what your mission is, then you'll never be able to successfully get them to understand what you want from them. So communication is very important. Transparency. They should equate fairness with you. They should feel that you are a fair leader, that you don't have any special likes for a certain person, a certain caste, a certain community. So they should be fair play, and that should be visible in your dealing with them. They respect people. Your men will respect people who play fair with them. So there's a long list like this. I can go on and on, but I feel these 3-4 characteristics which I've brought out are very, very essential in each person who wants to join the Indian Army and become a leader of men. Now, once you have cleared your services selection board, that's the interview, you will be put through a medical test. And therefore, my recommendation to each one of you who may want to join the Indian Army is that first get yourself medically examined, even before you appear for the written exam. Because it shouldn't happen that you have made an effort and cleared your written exam, then you have cleared your interview, and finally you find that you are unfit, medically unfit to join the army. So first get yourself medically examined so that that part is okay. You are medically fit. Thereafter make the effort and you will be there. Now, once you clear the services selection board and the medical, there is a merit list which is made. And based on the merit list, you will be called I was straight out of school. You guys will be straight out of college. So there's not much difference except in your age. So you will be a little more mature. But as far as the academy is concerned, you are as fresh as a person who joins the NDA. You are as lost. So I was lost on the first day at NDA. We were brought there in a bus. Your squadrons are allotted to you. So there are different squadrons in the IMA and the OTA. There'll be companies. You'll be allotted a company. There will be senior cadets out there who are, they all seem very, very intimidating because you are right out of your college and they have already spent 6 months. You get very intimidated by their goals that whatever the senior tells you, you have to follow throughout. So you are then taken to your companies where you will be given a room to stay in. You will have your own room. There are common toilets. And I'm just narrating all this so that you get an idea of what it looks like, or you can imagine what it's like. It's not luxurious. There is no air conditioning. There will be fans. And you will have to actually lead the kind of life that the Jawans in the army lead. So the Jawans are what form the units, and they lead the same kind of life as you will lead as a cadet, although you're training to become an officer. But at this time, your comfort, the facilities available to you will be something akin to what they go through in their lives. And there is a very, very set routine that you will be put through. A typical day would be waking up in the morning. You are given bed tea, not in your bed. You have to go and pick up your bed tea because it comes to the tea room, which is centralized. Along with that, there'll be some biscuits. And more often than not, the seniors will pick up the biscuits and you will only end up getting your tea. And that should be something that you should be prepared for. And that's how the system works. So there's no point feeling agitated about it or feeling upset about it. So you get your tea, Thereafter, you freshen up and you're there for something which is called a muster parade. That's the morning parade where everybody is accounted for. You have a small prayer, which will be either like in the NDA, there's an NDA prayer, and similarly in other academies. And you move for the routine of the day. Now, in your routine, you are put through every facet of training that is required to make you a competent army officer. And the first and foremost thing will be your physical training. So there will be a period of physical training. And after that, there will be a period of marching. So PT and drill are two things which happen in the morning. And more often than not, you will have both of them on the same day. So every day there'll be both. There may be some days where you have only PT or you may have only drill, but rarely. So you will carry your kit to go and change after your physical training. You change right there on the ground into your drill kit and rush. You have a 15-minute break between these two and you rush for your drill. Then you do your marching. So it's a 1 hour period of PT, a 1 hour period of marching, after which you may have 1 period of studies because you are also being educated. So this was your physical part, but you also need to brush up your mental part. And in the academic part of it, in the NDA, of course, it's a full graduation course you're doing. So all the subjects which you can think of in a combined graduation. So if you are a science student, you will have quite a lot of humanities subjects also there. And if you are a humanities student, you will also have physics, chemistry, mathematics of a lower standard, but it will also be there. So the subjects are many, many more in NDA. When you're talking of IMA and OTA, you're already a graduate. So either you are a BSc or you are a BA. And your focus out here in academics is going to be more on military subjects. Subjects like map reading. How do you read a map? How do you find your location if you are in a jungle, for example, and you have a map with you and you have a compass with you? How will you find your way to the destination wherever you need to go? Or how to navigate when you don't even have a map, maybe using the stars, maybe using the sundial method. So there are various methods you'll be taught. So you'll be taught map reading. You will be taught jungle survival. If you are stuck in a jungle and you have no food, you have no water, how you're going to survive will be one of the subjects that will be taught to you. How to survive in the desert, how to survive in extreme cold climate. So survival is another part of it. Thereafter, you have weapon training. You have to fire different kinds of weapons. But in the academy, you will essentially be taught how to look after or fire and clean and repair a rifle and a light machine gun. These are the two weapons that you will be made familiar with. Everything else which the army has will be taught to you after you leave the academy. And we will talk of that later. So weapon training. In weapon training, you'll be taught how to fire the weapon, how to maintain it, how to load the ammunition. You'll also be taught about ballistics, how the bullet flies, what is muzzle velocity. And there is a whole science out there. They will not teach you everything, but they will teach you enough for you to equip you to become a lieutenant in the Indian Army. So then you have weapon training. Thereafter, you have tactics. Tactics is you're going to become a leader of men. And when you join your unit, there will be a body of troops which are placed under your command. Now, you need to be able to take those troops into battle. And when you are going into battle, there is an enemy. How do you use camouflage? How do you conceal yourself? How do you maneuver how do you outflank an enemy? How do you surprise an enemy? How will you carry out a raid? How will you do a patrolling? How will you do an ambush? So these are all various facets of tactics. And you will be taught basic tactics, which is at a section level. That is the smallest subunit in a sub-subunit in an infantry battalion is a section of men, which is 10 people. And then there is a platoon of 36 people. You'll also be taught how to deal with a platoon. Because when you join You are on paper a platoon commander, whilst you may have the least amount of knowledge compared to everybody else in the unit because you have no experience. So whilst you have become an officer, you are the person with the least amount of experience, but you will be taught how to lead a platoon. So you have tactics. Then there will be subjects on military history, because you need to know what has happened in the past. How did various commanders react to situations when they were faced with it in battle? So there will be character studies of famous generals, like maybe MacArthur, General Patton. There are so many, Montgomery. So there are a number of character studies you can do. And there will be historic battles that you will read and you will derive lessons from it. So military history is an important aspect of your training. Thereafter is administration. You need to administer the men that you will command. So everything to do with the men, their health, hygiene, their promotions, their education, their families, their quarters. So the entire gambit of what it takes to look after the men you command will also be taught to you, not in detail, but a flavor of it will be given to you. So you have the administration. And then there is to do with the vehicles you will be using. So there will be driving and maintenance. You need to know about the kind of vehicles which are there in the army. There will be some kind of classes on that. And there's it's a long syllabus, but just to give you all a flavor, this is the kind of military subjects that you will be subjected to when you join the IMA or the OTA. So you have the physical training, then you have the military subjects. Thereafter, you also have extracurricular activities. You will have games to be played. So there are every game that you can possibly think of exists in these academies, whether it is golf, to riding, to para jumping, to flying gliders, maybe even microlights now. So everything, hockey, football, cricket, squash, badminton, the works. You can choose what you want to play, but it is essential for each cadet to play one troop game and one individual game. So troop games are those where you play as a team. Football, hockey, basketball. They're troop games. And individual games are like squash, tennis, swimming, riding. These are individual games. So it is essential that you play troop games. So because when you join your unit, you will be expected to play with the men you command. So you must be proficient at playing them. And as you get along in terms, so maybe one term you've played football, next term you'll be maybe playing hockey. If you are in the IMA, you have a third term, maybe it's basketball or maybe it's again hockey. So by the time you leave, even if you didn't know how to play these games when you joined, by the time you leave, you will have a reasonable amount of proficiency in these games based upon your ability and your sporting capability. So you have the games part. And then there are tests to be passed. There will be testing in physical training. Now, PT tests are to do with running. They are to do with your agility, with your strength, how many push-ups you can do, how many sit-ups you can do, can you climb the rope, third class, second class, first class. I mean, you can see on the net what these different classes of rope climbing are. There is a wooden horse, you have to jump over that. So there are a battery of physical training tests. And let me tell you about myself. When I joined the NDA, in my first term, I found I was really lagging behind as far as physical fitness was concerned. So I was in the squad, which was of those cadets who were physically not strong enough. And during my second term, we used to be put through extra training in the time between lunch and games. Now, that is normally the time when you get to rest up. Rest up or catch up with your administration. Say there's a broken button on your uniform, you need to stitch it up. So that's the only time you get. Otherwise, the whole day you're busy, and I will talk about what the routine is like later. So during this rest period, we used to be put through extra PT. But I worked very hard in my second term, And by the end of my second term, when I came to my third term in NDA there are 6 terms because it's a 3-year tenure. By the time I came to my third term, I was passing not only the basic tests, I was also passing the higher tests. The higher tests are actually the tests I would have done in 4th term. But if I can pass them in 3rd term, then I am considered to be, one up, and I have passed my higher tests also. So why I'm telling you this is because some of you may not be physically so fit when you join. But if you put in the requisite amount of training and effort, there is no way that you will be found lacking as far as fitness is concerned. So you have these tests. You also have tests for marching. When you join the academy, you are not allowed to go out of the academy premises till you pass a basic marching exam. It's called the DST, Drill Square Test. It involves basic movements of drill, marching, halting, saluting, turning around. And there is a small panel which judges you and says whether you cleared or declares whether you've cleared or you're not cleared. Once you clear your drill square test, you can wear a lanyard. So lanyard is, is a kind of a string, like a lasso which you wear around your shoulder. You would have seen people in uniform wearing it. You get that only when you pass your drill square test. And also, once you pass your drill square test, you can go out on a Sunday on something called a liberty. That means you can leave the premises of the academy and go out on a Sunday, maybe once a month. So that's a big thing that time. So there is drill square test. Then there are tests in swimming. Every cadet needs to pass at least 50 meters of, he should be able to swim 50 meters, and you need to pass that. You should also be able to jump from a 7-meter board. There are cadets who get scared and get relegated. Relegated, you lose 1 full term. That is, you lose 6 months of your training time. So you go back because you didn't jump off the board. So the swimming test and the jumping off the board is also very essential. And of course, like I said, there are games, but there is no testing for games. The fact that you're playing, even if you're not good, so there are different strings. So number 1 string are the best players. Then number 2 string. So you'll have hockey, number 1 string, 2 string, 3 string, 4 string, 5th string, 6th string. So 6th string people will be those who don't know how to play hockey, but they will also play hockey. The fact that you have played is good enough, because the whole aim and whole purpose out here is to teach you. So you will be taught games, but you'll be tested in everything else which I told you. You'll be tested in your weapon training. You'll be tested in your firing. So when you are given a target, there is a certain number of rounds you must be able to hit. If you are not good enough, or if your aim is not good enough, you will need to be given extra practice. So these are the kind of subjects that are there as far as the military subjects are concerned. As far as map reading is concerned and tactics, these are things which are very practical. You are taught theory about it. You will be taught how to read a map, how to read the contours on a map, how to read whether there is water flowing, there's a stream, there's a nala, there's a jungle, all that you'll be taught. But finally, you'll be tested for it, not only in the classroom, but on the ground. So you'll be told to carry out navigation. And in this navigation, there is navigation by day, there's navigation by night. And you will be given, say, 5 points on your map where you make the points and then told, okay, you have a compass with you, you have a map with you, now reach the first point. So you have to take a bearing and you start marching in that direction and hope like hell that you're going right, and you hit the point, and at that point there will be somebody waiting for you. He will sign the chit that you have brought with you, and then from there you start on a 2nd point and 3rd point and 4th point. So you are tested for map reading, because it's very, very essential to learn how to read a map. Of course, now you have GPSs, but despite having GPSs, you still need to know how to read a map manually, because GPSs, as you're aware, are run through at least 3 satellites must be within the range for your GPS to acquire the satellite and give you a fix. And these satellites may be controlled by somebody else. and they could switch it off in war, and you'll find that suddenly, or there's an error being put into them, and your GPSs will be giving you wrong readings. So it's very essential that you understand how to do map reading. So you'll be tested for map reading. You will also be tested for other things like escape and evasion, interesting exercises, jungle survival, survival in the desert. I told you about all this. So these are the kind of subjects that they are. Now, life in the academy, I'll talk about a typical day. I started off saying in the morning that there is a morning prayer, after which you go for the physical training, then the drill, then there may be one class. And from the class, I told you it could be a military class when you're in the IMA or the OTA. And in the NDA, it could be a class based on whether you're doing a graduation in science or humanities. Thereafter, you come back, you have your breakfast, and the rest of the day again goes towards academics, military subjects, other subjects, military history, administration, and the works which I spoke of. And that goes on till lunchtime. During this period also, you will be put through practical training of weapon training, practically firing your rifles, cleaning them, map reading exercises, map reading from your map to the ground to identify objects which you can see on your map. You'll be asked to identify them on ground, and vice versa. Thereafter, you're back for lunch, a quick lunch, and then comes that time which I spoke of, where generally you can do your administration or you can rest up. And if you are weak, then you will be put through extra classes like I was put through for physical training. Otherwise, you'll be able to steal about half an hour, 45 minutes of a break out there. But in all this time, you also, in this 45 minutes or half an hour that you'll steal, you also have to deal with your senior cadets. Now, in the NDA, there are 5 terms senior to you when you're a first termer. And each one of those guys are after your life. And the whole aim of them trying to torment you or rag you, if you can call that loosely, though there's no ragging permitted. But there are people who will rag you, who will, put you under pressure. The whole purpose is to break the cadet from whatever they came as part of the civilian life that they've led for the last 18 years, 20 years, depending upon which academy you've joined. And now to formulate you and make you into a new person so that you can become a competent army officer. Well, that is the purpose, but sometimes it can get vicious, as it happens everywhere else. So you have your rest period, after which you're off for games. Now, the games I've already spoken about, you need to play any of the games which are there in the academy. You finish your games, come back, quick shower, change, and you have a study period. So in the study period, now you can catch up with whatever you've been taught. People who are very, very inclined in academics will utilize it properly. People like me, who were so tired getting, doing physical training, even in the break, you would probably fall asleep. Of course, you're not meant to sleep. Your door is open. Your windows are open. You're under observation by people who are meant to take care of you. So if you fall asleep, you will get a boot and somebody come and kick you awake. But this is the time that you can catch up with your studies. So that having been done, you're off for dinner. Dinner is a parade. 4 times a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, dinner is a parade. You are there in uniform. You are lined up behind your chairs. You can't just go and sit down and start eating. There will be a proper report which is given to the duty officer, and then he says, okay, start the dinner. And then a command will be given that, okay, you can either eat easy or it may be a dinner night. Now, a dinner night is just a very organized way of having dinner, in the sense that it goes by timing. In the sense, when you say, okay, now let's start eating, so the soup is served first. And once you finish your soup, the timing is taken from the officer who's on parade out there, so the duty officer. Now, when he finishes his soup, he looks around to see, okay, everyone should have finished the soup. Then he closes his plate. When he closes his plate, the waiters come around to pick up your soup plates, and then come your next course, and then your next course, and that's how it goes. So these are the 4 days of the week when you will have a formal dinner. And on the other 3 days, you can eat easy. You can go to the mess in your not civil clothes, but in your academy civil clothes, which we call mufti. So there is a mufti dress where you wear your trousers, your shirt, and a tie, and you wear that and go to the mess on those other 3 days. But on these 4 days, you're there in uniform, and that could be either blue patrols, or it could be white patrols, or it could be just uniform. And having had your dinner, you're back to your rooms, and lights out is generally around 10 o'clock or maximum 10:30. So this is what a typical day in the life of a cadet is. And this goes on day after day. I feel the major challenges that come in the way of a cadet are the physical challenges for those people who may not be as fit. And let me tell you, nobody's as fit as you're expected to be in the academy. But some are fitter and some are not as fit. But everybody does have a challenge physically. So that is a big challenge. Marching is something new, which you need to learn because you need to get proficient in marching. So marching is a new game. The weapon training is a new game. And the military subjects are very interesting. So those who are inclined and who focus and concentrate will have no problems out there. So the academic part will not be that difficult. It's the physical part which is challenging. And when you put this all into a rigmarole of day after day, it can become a huge challenge. Okay. And then after having spent your time of whether it's 1.5 years or 9 months as an OTA or NDA 3 years, then comes the final day of passing out, the passing out parade. Now, the passing out parade is a huge parade. Like in NDA, has NDA today, when I was there, it had 12 squadrons. Today, it's got 16 squadrons. And each squadron has about 120 cadets. So there are 16 squadrons lined up. A lot of rehearsal goes, almost a month of rehearsing takes place because that is the ultimate day when you are going to pass out. It's live on television. There's an important chief guest who will come, and the whole thing is viewed with lots of. It's a very auspicious occasion, if I can put it like that. So there's a lot of practice which goes, and that will be almost a month of training towards your passing out. And once you pass out from these academies, you are, of course, commissioned as a lieutenant today. When I passed out, we used to be commissioned as second lieutenants. Today, it's a lieutenant. And that is a big occasion when your parents or your near and dear or your relatives are there for the pipping ceremony. And after you've been pipped, that means you got your stars. It's called pips. You got your stars. Then you are an officer. And thereafter, you are going to get about 3 weeks off to rest, recoup, and prepare to join your units. Now, your units may be in different locations. You could be going to a high altitude location like Siachen Glacier, where it's the temperatures are minus 30 degrees, minus 40 degrees. You could be going to Srinagar or the valley, which is a lot of counter-terrorism is going on. You could be going to the deserts. You could be going to the northeast, or you could be going to a unit which is in a peace area. Now, that all depends upon which unit you are allocated. And before I go further here, I'll just talk about allocation of units. You can actually opt for the unit that you want. So there are different arms and services. As far as the arms are concerned, they are the people who fight in the, if there's a war, they are the people who fight. Then there are the supporting arms. They are also arms, but they support these people who are actually fighting. And then you have the services. They are the logistic people who provide logistic support to all these people who are fighting. So as far as the arms are concerned, you have the armored corps, the artillery, the infantry, the air defense, and the mechanized infantry. In the supporting arms, you have arms like engineers, signals. So they provide support to the fighting arms. And then you have the logistic people who provide you rations, the ASC, ammunition, the AOC, the support to repair your vehicles, tanks, guns, and everything which is the EME, and so on and so forth. There's a whole lot of people who are in the services. So you have to, when you are in your final term of the academy, make a choice of what you want to join. And based on your choice and where you stand in merit, you will be given a regiment. You may not always get what you want. Like I said, it depends upon your merit. If you're high up in merit, amongst the first 5, then you will get whatever you want. Even if there's no vacancy there, you'll get it. But if you are not high up, then it's based upon your luck and availability as to where you go. But generally, the satisfaction level is quite high. So most people do get what they want. Okay, now back to your joining the unit. Your unit, like I said, could be anywhere. And when you go there, you will be, of course, wearing your uniform, which is traditionally the regiment sends you the uniform on the day of your passing out. They send a man who carries your cap, your beret, your uniform, so that the moment you pass out, you can wear your new uniform of that unit. Now you join that unit. And the point to remember out here is that whilst you may have trained for 4 years, 3 years in the NDA, 1 year in the IMA, like I did, I joined an armored regiment. An armored regiment is a regiment which has got tanks. So when I joined my armored regiment, which was in Jammu, I had no clue about how a tank operates, how a tank fires. I had only seen it in movies, or you see it in a demonstration when you're in the IMA. They take you on a visit and you can see some tanks firing and moving. So now you are actually in a tank unit. And though you may have trained 4 years, you know less than even the junior most Jawan of that unit. So this you must keep at the back of your mind. Whilst you're an officer, you have a troop to command. A troop is 3 tanks. And in that troop, there are also 16 people apart from you. So it's you and 16 others. But you are the one with the least amount of knowledge about those tanks. And therefore, in most good regiments, you are not given command or control of any tank or troop. Whilst you are part of that, on paper, you are a troop leader because you're an officer. But this is the time your training starts. So when I joined the regiment, I was put through how to be a driver, everything to do with driving of a tank, how the automotives work, then how to be a gunner, how the tank gun fires, again, all the electronics, which is to do with the tank gunnery. Then the communication. There is a radio set because in tanks, you're aware the tanks move. And if you have to communicate between tanks, like you have mobiles, out there you have radio sets because you can't use mobiles because mobiles are not secure. They can be intercepted. So the radio sets that you have got frequency hopping, they've got encryption. So it's again a very technical aspect. So you need to know about the communication aspects. And then you need to learn tactics. Like I told you, you were learning tactics in IMA about platoon and section. Here you need to learn about tank tactics. Similarly, when you join an artillery unit, you know nothing about the guns out there. So you will have to start learning about those guns. You join an air defense unit, you will have to learn about the missiles and the air defense guns. You join a mechanized infantry unit, you need to learn about that equipment. You join an engineer unit. So wherever you join, you need to start your learning process of that equipment and that unit, how it functions. And that takes time. So 6 odd months is spent trying to understand and learn about the tank. Thereafter, you will go on a young officers course. And the young officers course in the Armored Corps is for 6 months. So 6 months spent in the unit doing a pre-course. That means you're learning what you will learn in the course so that you don't go there looking like a fool. So you are taught about whatever I told you. Then you go there and they will formally teach you all this stuff which I told you. And only when you complete those 6 months of the young officers course and get back to the unit, can you actually be called a troop leader. And that's the time you start getting to learn. You will be given a troop to command and you will be able to handle that troop tactically when the troop tanks are moving. Then when you go for firing, or you go for any other maneuvers which take place. Okay, now the typical day in the life of an Armored Corps officer. Like I said, there are many services and many arms and supporting arms. So I'll only talk about one. Everybody has a similar kind of a routine. So when you're an officer in the Armored Corps or in my unit is the Pune Horse, which is the most highly decorated regiment that there is in the Indian Army. We have 2 Paramveer Chakras in my unit. That is Lieutenant Colonel A.B. Tarapur, Paramveer Chakra in the 65 War Posthumous, and Second Lieutenant Arun Khetrapal, the youngest officer to ever have got a Paramveer Chakra in 1971, again posthumous. So 2 Paramveer Chakra, and we have 2 Mahavir Chakra, 6 Veer Chakra, and a number of Sena medals. And before independence, my unit also had received 4 Victoria Cross, which are the equivalent of Paramveer Chakra. So when I joined this unit, I was very intimidated because although I passed out from the Indian Military Academy with a Sword of Honor and the gold medal, and I had 4 other medals, best in marching, best in physical fitness, best in shooting, and first amongst those commissioned into the Armored Corps. Despite having all this, when I joined this regiment, I have told you about the history of my regiment. It's over 200 years old. I was very intimidated. My whole focus was on how to prove myself that this unit has received an officer who's worthy of being in it. So you need to start proving to the men and the officers there that you are competent. You have the ability to be part of this very, very glorious regiment. So you need to work hard. And I worked very hard. Like I said, I was put through all this, the driving, the gunnery, the communications and things like that, through the tactics. So when I went for my young officers course, I got the Silver Centurion out there, which is given to the officer who comes first on the course. Now, when you get back to the unit after that, despite having got the Silver Centurion, you still have to win the confidence of the men you command. Because like I told you in the beginning, you need to be able to lead those men into battle. So you have to win their confidence. And how do you win their confidence? By being with them, by working with them, by understanding them, by knowing about them. So we normally kept a diary. We used to keep a diary with us where those 16 men's details were noted down. In the diary, I would note down the guy's name, marital status, how many children he has, where does he come from, what is his economic status, does he have land at home, does he have any other problems, what is his own qualification, how much service he has got, has he had any disciplinary problems, is he a person who's a habitual offender, and so on and so forth. The entire laundry list of what that person is about is to be noted by you in your diary so that you know your men. And when you know them, you will understand them better. You empathize with them. And therefore, whenever they have a problem, you can actually, you can understand their problem and also solve it. So you need to know them. And then when you are carrying out your physical training with them, you're carrying out your games with them, you have to be as good, if not better than them in everything. They must start admiring you. That ये सब आया है, ये बहुत अच्छा है. ये हमसे गेम में भी अच्छा है. ये हमसे स्टडीज में भी अच्छा है. ये मिलिट्री सब्जेक्ट्स में भी जानता है. और ये हमारे बारे में भी जानता है. So they will then start respecting you, and that is the respect that you must get to command from your men. So now, just a typical day in the life of an army officer. You wake up in the morning, same kind of routine, chai, then physical training. You come to the unit with your men, you do physical training, get back, have your breakfast. You can also have breakfast with the men because the men have their breakfast in the langars. You can go to the langar and eat with them, or you can go back to the officers' mess. In my unit, it was encouraged that we eat with the men. So you go and have your breakfast, change into your dungarees, because dungarees is what you wear when you get onto the tanks. And thereafter, the rest of the day is spent on maintaining the tanks. The tank is a huge machine. So all these parts which I spoke of, they need periodic maintenance. And manpower is never enough because there are many things going on simultaneously. So therefore, in the troop, if you find 5-6 men available, then they are looking after one tank, and that might take a couple of days, and then the next tank, and so on and so forth. So you are looking after the tanks. The men normally work only till about 12 o'clock. You finish that with them, and then you go to the headquarters, where then you will be given documents to read so that you can educate yourself about what's going on in the army, what is the ethos of the unit. You need to understand the history of the unit. You need to know the customs and traditions of the unit. So everything about the unit you need to learn. You need to learn about the administration part, which I spoke of earlier. Thereafter is lunch, get back to your rooms, and then evening there is games like it was in the academy, except that out here, the gap between lunch and your games may be uninterrupted. There's nobody who's going to come and drag you. You play your games, get back to the mess, change, and then you go for your dinner to the mess. You can't have dinner in your room. You go to the mess, have dinner, and thereafter you're back to your room and you can catch up with whatever you want to do. So this is something like what a typical day in the life of a young officer would be. When you also join a unit, there is something called a dining in, where every officer is dined into the mess. It's a form of welcoming the officer into the mess. And this is a very, very formal occasion, but every regiment has a different custom. So it's done in a very formal dress called the blue patrols in winter, a white patrol in summer, or if it's very hot, then 6 Bravo is that dress you must have seen where people half sleeves, white shirt with black trousers. And you are meant to drink a toast. Like in my regiment, you have to drink a toast to the Paramveer Chakras, one of and two. The 4 Victoria Crosses, you drink a toast to them. You drink a toast to the other silver which is there. And the whole idea is to give you enough drinks so that you loosen up. So you have your drinks, and then is the dinner where it's a very formal dinner night, and then you're supposed to make a speech. But in 99% of the cases, all the toasting and all the drinking, which you're not used to as a young officer, takes its toll, and more often than not, you're carried out because you've had too much to drink. So this is something like what a day in the life of a young officer is. I think I have taken a lot of time, 45 minutes gone. We will open up for questions and rest. If there are any queries that you have, I'll take them on in the question and answer.
Okay, so good evening, sir. I'll be taking up the questions. We have a few of them. I'll just speak it out and you can go ahead and answer them.
Yeah.
So the first is a very basic question: how to crack SSB? Like, could you just give us a few relevant tips where we can assess how to crack SSB?
So let me tell you, there is nothing known as cracking SSB. SSB is not an obstacle. SSB is an assessment of your officer-like qualities. And I believe that either you have them or you don't have them. And it's very difficult to fool the people who are there. If you don't, for example, have the officer-like qualities, it's very difficult to fool them. But having said that, I must also tell you that whilst the qualities may be there within you, you need to know how to bring them out. How the people who are actually judging you can understand that, yes, you do have these officer-like qualities. And for that, I want to tell you that the most important aspect of SSB is confidence. You need to be confident when you go there for this interview. And that confidence will only come if you are well prepared. If you know what you're going in for, that gives you the confidence. Second aspect is that you must be genuine. You cannot be trying to be, you cannot try and be something that you are not. For example, when you go there on the first day, they will make you fill a laundry list of forms in which they will be asking for information about you. What games do you play? What books do you read? And so on and so forth. And you might, not be playing any game, but you say, okay, I play basketball. Now, during the interview, if they ask you about basketball, then you must know everything about basketball, because if you're a player, then you will know everything about basketball. So don't try and fool your way through. Whatever you are putting down, you must be aware of. If you say, I read books and this is the books I've read, then you should have actually read them, or you should know what the books are about. Because if they ask you a question about those books and you're found wanting, then it comes out very poorly that, this guy is fibbing. And the third aspect and the last is that you must have a very positive approach. Whatever you do, whichever task you're given, whatever situation you're given to react to, the positivity in your attitude must come out. So, for example, if there's a glass of water, and this is a very basic example, and it's got water till 50% of the glass, then, one guy can say it's half full, one guy can say it's half empty, and one guy can say it was full, but now it is half. Well, whatever you say, your answer, if you say it is half full, is a positive answer. A half empty is like a negative answer. So I'm just using this as an example to convey to you what positivity I'm talking of. So if you are given a situation and asked how you will react or what does the situation mean, try and give a positive answer to whatever the situation is. So I feel if you look at these 3 points I've given you, and of course it's simpler said than done, but if you keep these at the back of your mind, then I feel you should be able to get through your SSB if you have it in you.
Thank you, sir. I hope that answers the question the person asked. The second question is, what makes a cadet have officer-like qualities?
A cadet, when you are tested in the SSB, they are looking for officer-like qualities. So if you have the officer-like qualities, you will be selected. So when you are becoming a cadet or when you join the academy, that officer-like quality potential is within you. Now, whatever you do in the academy, I told you the entire stuff which happens there, all goes to just enhance your mettle, improve your proficiency in terms of your knowledge of your profession, your dealing with the men, the whole gamut of what I told you. And this entire training, during this training also, you're being assessed for your officer-like qualities. Some people will have a higher level of officer-like qualities compared to other people. For example, skipping classes, going to town when you are not permitted to go and getting caught. So whatever mistake you make in terms of your character goes against your officer-like qualities points. So you are really, you already have the officer-like qualities when you join, but now you are being assessed for how you exhibit them. That's what the academy is all about.
Surely, sir. Okay, so the next question is, how to deal with the ragging? Does it affect an individual mentally?
Well, ragging, like I said, is not good, and it's not meant to be there. But as you're all aware, in every walk of life, even when you join a job in the CV street or you join your colleges, there are these terms when they call you a futcha and stuff like that, that, you're a fresher who's come in, and that little bit of ragging which goes on. That is the kind of ragging which happens everywhere. I don't think you need to be really alarmed about it. It's not something which is going to, change your life. At best, you might feel upset at that moment, like you do when you are put through anything which you are not expecting or you are not happy doing. But it's nothing to worry about. So there's no need for you to take any measures on how to cope with it. Just accept it as a normal thing which happens in every walk of life.
Okay, sir. So the next question is, how to motivate the youth to serve for the nation?
Well, I think everybody is serving the nation. Why do you need to motivate the youth to serve the nation? Whatever you may be doing, whether you're a doctor, you're an engineer, you are in the army, whatever profession you're in, you're serving the nation. So I think serving the nation is an intrinsic part of our lives. And I don't think you need to motivate people to serve the nation. You're doing it all the while. So I don't know really what question you're asking me. But if you're asking me how to motivate the youth to join the army, well, that's a totally different story.
Okay, sir. So our next question says, so how has your experience been serving for the nation for the over 4 decades?
My experience in the services has been fantastic. And I will qualify that by saying that if I got a chance once again to start my career afresh, I would opt for the army. But having said this, I must also tell you all that everybody is not designed to join the army. When I say designed, means one man's meat is another man's poison. If I had a good time in the army, it doesn't mean that everybody will have a good time in the army. So my recommendation is that you must be aware of what life in the army is all about. What is expected from you? What are the service conditions? And whether that excites you or not. Because it's very important that you join a profession which actually excites you, which stimulates you, your mind. So I had a great time. I had a good career. I have seen every part of India and abroad, a number of countries abroad. I've served in United Nations missions. I've served in combat areas. So overall, I have no regret. I had a great time.
Okay, sir. So our next question says that do cadets get leisure time, and if they do, what do they really prefer doing?
Lesser time means compared to? Or just say that again.
Do cadets get leisure time, like as
Leisure time. Leisure time.
yes,
Okay. Well, yes. Leisure time, like I told you, is something that you have to steal for yourself. When you're in your first term and there are other seniors around you, your free time is generally occupied by their making you do things which may not be part of the routine. But if you're smart, you'll be able to find leisure time. And the leisure time is not only these breaks which I told you in between, but a Sunday. On a Sunday, there is no training on a Sunday. You might have a morning cross country, and thereafter you're free to go to the cafeteria, sleep, go out on liberty if you are entitled to do that, and so forth. So there is actually adequate leisure time. The routine itself is so full that you will not get time to get bored. You don't need leisure time because you are striving to improve yourself. You want to become physically better in your marching, in your studies. You want to get make a place for yourself. So the Sundays that you get off is more than enough. So I will say there is adequate leisure time.
Thank you, sir. So the next question says that if there are female cadets, in which units are they allowed?
Sorry, I didn't get that clearly.
The female cadets, in which units are they allowed?
Senior cadets, in which unit they allowed?
So female cadets.
Female cadets. Okay. Female cadets right now are allowed in all supporting arms and all services. They are not allowed in the fighting arms. That means not in the infantry, not in the armored corps, not in the mechanized infantry, not in the artillery. But they can join engineers, signals, and then ESC, EME, ordnance, and all the other services. That's where they can join.
Yes, sir. The next question is a bit like different from the rest. It's like I want to ask, sir, like as a civilian, if I am not a part of the army directly, how can I make myself self-disciplined?
Make myself?
Disciplined.
Well, discipline is not there only in the army. When you are in the army, what we talk of discipline is institutional discipline. That you wear the uniform that you're given, you go to the right place at the right time, you do things in the manner that they're meant to be done. Well, that is institutional discipline, which most institutions that you work in or study in have got some kind of a code of conduct. some kind of this discipline. But I think what you need to really look at is self-discipline. And self-discipline is what you need to do when there is nobody watching you, when there's nobody enforcing a code of conduct on you. That's self-discipline. And that self-discipline you must equate with self-love. If you love yourself, then whatever it takes to improve yourself in life must be done, and that is self-discipline. So I think self-discipline exists in everybody who's successful, in whatever walk of life. So you're a civilian, you don't need to get the discipline which is in the army. You don't need to start marching and saluting and stuff like that. But your self-discipline or the discipline of the organization that you are part of, the code that they follow or the code of conduct that they follow, if you are part of that and you observe that, then I think you are doing your bit.
Surely, sir. So the next question is, what curriculum is undertaken after the CDS examination?
What curriculum?
Yes, sir. What is basically taught after the CDS examination?
Well, you go to the, after the CDS, you join either IMA or you'll join OTA. And you'll be trained the way I have explained to you. All those subjects which we spoke of, all of them will be part of your curriculum. And you will be expected to obtain minimum marks as laid down by the academy to clear them.
Okay, sir. We have the last question. So, according to you, how can we equip ourselves better for becoming an officer, indulging in many activities in your college, or sticking to limited activities and leading in them?
Well, neither of them. It doesn't matter how many activities you are excelling in or how many activities you are taking part in. When you go for the examination to get into becoming an officer, first and foremost is the written examination, which is a very clinical examination based upon the syllabus which has been laid out. So you'll be given a UPSC examination, a question paper, and if you clear that, then you have cleared the written examination. Next comes your SSP, where you are interviewed. Nobody's interested in how many clubs you were or how much of activity you were doing in your college. They are going to ask you pointed questions to understand what you are all about. Whether you have the ability to become an officer, like I said, whether you have the officer-like qualities, whether you have the potential, whether you're genuine, whether you exude confidence, whether you are positive. They will assess you on all this. There are psychologists out there. All the officers out there are very experienced. They'll be able to immediately see through. So it doesn't matter what you have been doing. What matters is how you come about during the interview. So be yourself. If you're in your college, if you're fond of taking part in many activities, do so. If you are not the type who takes part in activities, it doesn't matter. You must do what you are good at, what you feel good doing, and that is the way to keep happy.
Thank you so much, sir. I think we are done with the questions and we come to the end of the session. I would just take this moment to deliver the formal vote of thanks to you.
Ria, just a minute.
Yes.
I would like you to just pass it on to everybody. You can pass my Instagram handle to them, because should somebody want to get in touch with me and ask me any questions based on what I've spoken, they can inbox me in my Instagram. And my Instagram handle is Vikram Dogra 17. So feel free to message me and I'll try and answer whatever question you might have.
Yes, I'll just drop it in the chat as well.
I am so sorry to interrupt, sir, but one of the attendees, Prince Bamal, he has a question. He has his SSB exam tomorrow, and he says, are there any last-minute tips for the same?
My only tips to you are, firstly, best of luck. Second, confidence. Must be confident. So have confidence in yourself. When you go there, look confident. Be genuine in whatever you write. Whatever you write in those papers, you must have knowledge about, so that nobody can catch you to say that you wrote that you are basketball player, but you don't know anything about the dimensions of the court, how many people play this game, what is the duration of this game, and so on and so forth. So be genuine in your approach. If there is something that you're not good at, say so. So I've not done this. If they ask you a question which you don't know, say, I'm sorry, I'll find out about it. There's nothing wrong in not knowing things. Because like I told you, it is not a test of your knowledge. It's a test of your character. So they are assessing you in your character. So be genuine. And last point, like I said, positivity. If they ask you a question, a situation, see how you can give them a positive answer. These 3 tips, most importantly, confidence, and I am sure you will make it.
Thank you, sir. I think he has taken your tips and he'll definitely acknowledge them. So, coming to the end of the session, we are so elated to announce that it was a great joy for us to have you today as our esteemed guest speaker. And we cannot deny that your presence was truly, truly vital for us to have an eminent discussion over a very determined topic. It was an honor for us to host you, and I'm sure that the crowd will be taking back some great insights from the session. We definitely acknowledge your presence for today, sir, and for all the topics you did touch upon, which are from a plethora of lights. Also, a big thanks to the audience for your patience and time. We hope to hold such useful sessions for you in the future. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ria, and wish everybody all the best. God bless.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.